What's up, everybody? This is Scott from NoLoveToMetal.com, and just wanted to quickly say before I start this episode of What's Spinning, I want to thank you all for your prayers, your thoughts, and for contacting me by phone, by email, by message, by Facebook while I was in the hospital last week. Really appreciated. You guys rule, and it was great. Sitting in a hospital bed is boring, and I really appreciated the distraction from all you guys. So you guys know who you are. You're the ones who contacted me. Much love to you. Thank you very much. But today we're going to get into another edition of What's Spinning, and I thought I'd share something that a lot of people may not be aware of. This is going to be a series, a 5-disc series called Intense Live Series, and this was put out in the 1990s by Intense Records out of California. And the 5 discs in this collection were released, I think they were like every month or every other month, something like that. And once you got the 5 discs, the spine came together looking like that. And as you can see, the 5 discs, you can see the guitar that forms in the top of the disc. But what this series is all about is each of the 5 artists that were chosen for this from Intense Records, they recorded a bunch of their own songs live in the studio. Just came in the studio, punched, set up their amps, set up some mics, punched in, and just played them live. And that was it. And then each of the bands had to choose at least one cover song to record as well. And there was 5 in the series, like I said. The very first one released was by one of my absolute favorite bands, Deliverance. And this album was released, this EP, I guess you call it, was released following the release of Stay of Execution. And so the songs on here, they're a little bit of everything. Michael Phillips was the guitar player on here, as well as Jimmy Brown, of course. Jimmy Brown being the main guy from Deliverance, but Mike Phillips, total shredder. So this I absolutely love. This is probably my favorite of the 5 discs I'm going to show in this collection. But playing in the background now, you can hear some of the Deliverance discs. Also on the disc, besides the music, is little tidbits of studio tomfoolery, I guess. Just silliness between the bands, talking back and forth in the studio. This one contains a bunch of Jimmy Brown's laugh, and he's got a very contagious and very funny laugh. And this album contains 6 songs. Surrender, No Love, which was from the very first Deliverance album. This Present Darkness, which was from Weapons of Warfare, the second Deliverance album. Stay of Execution, which was from their most recent album. The Call and No Time, which were also from the very first Deliverance album. And a couple of these songs have extended jams. Just fantastic stuff. Very loose. Unlike most speed metal or thrash metal, which Deliverance were at this time, which is just very tight machine gun riffing. This is very loose. It just has a very fun, very free feel to it, very free flowing feel. I don't know. I love it. And then the song they chose for the cover on this one was Surrender by Stryper, and they do a great job of it. Surrender is a heavy song to begin with. Give it the chunk of a Mesa Boogie amp, and Michael Phillips and Jimmy Brown chunking that E chord. Fantastic release. Disc 1 in the Intense Live series. Disc 2 is from another favorite band, Tourniquet. Now, Tourniquet's disc is a little odd because their vocalist, Guy Ritter, had just recently left the band, so they didn't have their lead vocalist. So what they did was they brought in Bloodgood vocalist Les Carlson to sing, and definitely gives it a different feel. Les, has a very different feel than anything that, the kind of King Diamond-ish vocals that they had on their first 2 albums and even their more gravelly vocals on their 3rd album. So yeah, Les brings a different feel to the band overall. They do, again, here they have 6 songs, 2 cover songs. They do Phantom Limb, which was from their most recent album. They had released right before this. Arc of Suffering, and they do kind of a medley of Arc of Suffering, which is from their first album, and Stereotaxic Atrocities, which is from their second album, Psychosurgery. And then a Whitewash Tomb the Skeets Dilemma, and 2 cover songs. They do The Tempter by Trouble, and some may not know, but Ted Kirkpatrick, drummer and basically the main man behind Tourniquet, was also the drummer for Trouble for a short time. And that version of The Tempter actually ended up on the Metal Blade re-release of Pathogenic Ocular Dissonance, which I believe I do have right behind me somewhere. I'm not going to dig it out. But, and then the last song they do is they do a cover of Bloodgood's Messiah from their second album. Really, really good version of that song. Unlike the Deliverance one, which is a little more loose and fun, this one's pretty tight. The band sounds very, very tight. Definitely different from the studio stuff. Definitely has more of a crunch. Certainly is a little looser than what you would hear on a studio album. But still, fantastic release from them. Really kind of liked the addition of Les on vocals. Oops. He he's got his own unique style for sure, and it's odd hearing him in Tourniquet, especially if you've been a fan of both Tourniquet and Bloodgood before hearing this. But yeah, this is let's see here. Les Carlson guest vocals, yeah. And then of course there are some of the more thrashy vocals that are shared by. Keep dropping this thing. Sorry. And that's my tribute to 777 Metal Ron 777. Just keep dropping things. But bassist Eric Mendez does some vocals, and guitarist Gary Lanier, he also does some vocals on this, and more of the heavier, thrashier vocals, while Les does more of the clean singing on here. Fantastic album. Disc number 2 from the Intense Live series. It's what's been playing in the background the entire time, and right here. There you go. So, disc number 3 in the collection. Not one of my favorite bands from Intense Records, but one of my favorite releases from this band, Rose, Randy Rose. Randy was most known for being in Mad at the World. He released several really doomy metal albums, 2 of them before this one titled Randy Rose, one just titled Rose, and then this was his 3rd release, this EP, this live Intense Series EP, and it's just entitled Rose. And again, there's 6 songs on here, and I actually really like the heavy rawness and the looseness that they get in the studio as opposed to the studio albums, especially on the song On My Knees. Absolutely one of my favorite songs on this. I love the live version of this. As a matter of fact, I'm going to put a clip of it right here.
Alone again. On my knees, can you hear me? Begging, please, can you save
me? So there you go, On My Knees by Rose, and I'm sure I'll get tagged for playing a clip of that one, but don't care. It's a great song, and if you can find this, definitely worth picking up. The cover song on here is You Gotta Move, a traditional blues song, which works very well for Rose's kind of doomy, Danzig-y style. Disc number 3 in the series, Intense Live series, Rose. Disc number 4. This band was actually friends of mine. Of course, not when this came out, but later on. This is Die Happy. Now, Die Happy, of course, was formed out of the roots of Vengeance Rising. Vengeance Rising split. Roger Martinez taking the Vengeance name and going his routes with new members, and the other 4 members of Vengeance forming Die Happy. And then they released 2 records before this. They released the self-titled, which was just fantastic, kind of like speed metal, thrash metal meets Deep Purple. Doug Thiem from Die Happy, who was the main songwriter for that first album, he is a huge fan of Ian Gillan, huge fan of Deep Purple. You could definitely hear that kind of blues meets thrash meets speed metal vibe on that first Die Happy album. Then on the second album, bassist Roger Dale Martin departed from the band, and a new bass player came into play, and that was bassist Greg Chaisson. And Greg was formerly the bass player for Badlands, and with Badlands, when he left Badlands and went into Die Happy, he definitely took a huge part of their sound and made it his sound. So instead of having that sound like they did on the first, which was really Doug's sound, it really became Greg's sound by the second album, and Volume 2 sounded a lot like Badlands. I like both albums, but they're very, very different. Anyhow, this album here features Greg, and there's a lot of stuff from the second album on here. Again, there's 6 songs, and the cover song that he shows on here was All Over Me by Petra. Great song. My favorite song on here, Justified. Fantastic. Heavy groove bass, heavy metal song with lyrics, with vocals by Robin Kyle Basari. Guy could sing. Guy could sing. But these guys reformed a few years later as Once Dead, and I sang for him. We even spoke about possibly doing a reunion with Rob and Kyle and doing a set that was split between Vengeance, which I would sing the vocals for, and Die Happy, which Robin would sing the vocals for. Would have been great to see. Just didn't work out, unfortunately. But yeah, this song I'm going to play a little bit of a clip right now. Justified. There you have it. Justified. Die Happy. Volume 4 in the Intense Live series. And then the last release from the Intense Live series, probably my least favorite. And it's not because I don't like this band. It's just, I don't know. I liked the raw heaviness of those first 4. I like the looseness of the studio play when they're just jamming live. This is Mortal. Mortal is Volume 5. Mortal, it was not a metal band at all. Mortal was a industrial band. They released 2 albums prior to this. The very first album being just straightforward, very electronic sounding. I think the album's called Lucis, and I really like that album. It's just not metal, and it's very electronic sounding, very computerized, very electronic. I don't know what else to say. It is what it is, you know. The second album, they added a slightly heavier vibe, kind of like Circle of Dust. You know, they added guitars, but it was still industrial, and that's what you get here. But they added a lot of a rock tone to this one, and you know, I kind of like it. It's just not my favorite of the 5. On here, they do a cover of all songs, Amy Grant's "Thy Word." Kind of cool though, cool cover song. And matter of fact, I'm going to throw a little clip of that in right here. So there you go, Mortal with Thy Word. Probably my favorite song from them was Rift off the second album. No, they had a lot of good songs, but like I said, I kind of dig the more metal albums that we had, you know, going on here, as opposed to the industrial album you have going on here. But still, the entire set is worth, you know, picking up if you can find it. These things are all out of print now, unfortunately, but they are in circulation. I do see them from time to time, especially on sites like eBay. Very cool collection. Again, you know, here's your spine. Too bad they didn't decide to do more of these. Would have been cool. I would have loved to have heard other, you know, intense bands. Mortification, Shout, Ken Tamplin. Would have been great hearing those kind of bands also doing these, but unfortunately, that's all there was. So, that's it for this edition of What's Spinning Intense Live Series. God bless. and stay strong.